Did you know that cardiovascular training and strength training are not created equal when it comes to losing fat close to the heart? The accumulation of fat around your heart can increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. A study that I ran across in one of my professional magazines had mentioned a study at the University of Copenhagen in Denmark. And what they did is they did a study on 3 groups. They had a resistance training group, high intensity interval training group, and a group that didn't do any exercise whatsoever. So what were the results with this study? Those that did the resistance work decreased fat lying around the heart, specifically the sac that encases the heart. That's called the pericardium. Compared to 50 previously inactive people with abdominal obesity, and it lasted for 12 weeks. And in the liner notes below, I will just put the resource for the study so you can check that out. Adults in the weightlifting group trained for 45 minutes, 3 times per week, 5 sets for 10 exercises. The cardio group did 45 minutes of high intensity interval training 3 times a week. And how they determined how much fat people lost is they used an MRI, which that MRI was able to accurately detect the fat deposits, particularly around the heart in this case. That's what this study was studying. And remember, I believe this was a 12-week study. So by the end of the study, the pericardial fat was decreased by 31% in the resistance training group, but not in the high intensity group. So think about that. The individuals who did strength training, forget about how many sets, reps, exercises, all that jazz. Just the resistance training group lost, or it actually decreased their pericardial fat, that's the fat around the heart, by 31%. That is pretty darn substantial if you want to think about it. And the high intensity interval group did not lose that much. Pretty interesting. Think about this for a second. Fat outside the heart sac, which is epicardial fat, improved in both groups. 32% in the cardio group and 24% in the resistance group. So what are your key takeaways from this study? And I'll add on to this in a little bit. One, you need to add some resistance work to your fitness program. If you're just doing cardio, as you can see from the study, there already was some improvements that were made. Remember, the improvement for this study is fat outside the heart. That's right around the heart, right outside of the heart, was seeing an improvement in 32% in that cardio group. Okay, so again, to have the advantage of having both advantages of losing fat more efficiently and better, and to reduce your risk for cardiovascular, is to add some resistance work to your strength training. So yes, doing cardio can improve the fat loss around your heart, obviously around your whole entire body, but you also need to add some resistance work to your program. And again, you don't have to make the resistance work that hard. It's not rocket science. And another thing too is to also mix up your cardio. So if you're doing high intensity program, maybe a couple times a week, maybe switch another day up to maybe some hill work, whether you're on an incline, on a treadmill, or getting outside and walking up a hill a couple times. If there's a hill in your neighborhood, maybe walk up that a couple times. So you're getting a little bit of strength in with that. And also, the most important thing is to also take a look at your nutrition. Think about the big picture of what's going to happen at the end of the week. The bigger picture is what's going to happen at the end of the month. So I'll go off on a little tangent here. You got some folks that like to count their macros. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I count my macros just because I'm a little anal retentive. If you don't get too crazy upset if you can't meet your macros or your nutrition requirements at the end of the day. You got to look at the bigger picture. Look at the whole entire week, and then actually look at the big picture at the end of the month. So let's say, for example, that if you are hitting your macros, I'm just going to use the macros example. If you're hitting your macros 5-6 days out of the week, look at the picture of the whole entire month. You're going to be further ahead on some weight loss and some body fat loss and improving your cardiovascular risks factors by looking at the whole entire month versus if you're very inconsistent with your macros on a daily basis. So my advice is to, whether you're counting your macros or your calories or using an app, it doesn't matter how you're tracking. If you are, or maybe if you're just eyeballing it, think about what that's going to be at the end of the week and also at the end of the month. It's the big picture. The small changes you make now, down the road, you can make some big improvements. Another thing I want to add with this is that if you're doing a lot of cardio, because you're more comfortable doing cardio and maybe you're not comfortable with going in a gym right now, especially because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, I'm actually working on some online programs, some online courses that people can do programming exercises, whether they are in a gym, if they're comfortable going, or they can do it at home, or their gym is open, but they're not comfortable about going. So they're looking at possibly doing some exercises at home and maybe even actually starting to create a home gym. So I'll be doing a lot of stuff you'll see coming out in the next number of months with new programs, courses, and whatnot that will be available. On another note, if you are looking to create a home gym, it doesn't need to be anything spectacular and it does not need to be expensive either. There are just a few things that you can buy that can make programs work. So keep an eye on the channel and also keep an eye on my website for some blogs. Sometimes I will do a video, expand on it more with a blog, or vice versa. So keep an eyeball out for that. I'll see you next time.